Hello, everyone. I am Dayne Young with UGAsports.com. This is UGA Sports Live, and we are back after a bit of a summer hiatus. We have head coach Coach Donnan and Radi Nabulsi, the publisher of UGAsports.com. And guys, I kind of want to get right in here with some questions that we have from our listeners and viewers and just make this really a question-heavy show. So first of all, good to see you guys again. Second of all, name, image, and likeness. Here we go. First question from Coastal VA Dog on the vent. It says, welcome back, everyone. I just want to get the general feeling that you have of the state of college sports moving forward with name, image, and likeness. He mentions a couple other things, too, as far as possible college football playoff expansion. In other words, a lot of news has happened since we were last on this podcast feed. So, Coach, let's just kick it straight over to you. What's your reaction to what you've seen from some of the name, image, and likeness, playoff expansion, just everything that's happened in the last month in college football?
Well, I bought me some Milo sweet tea just because Nick's got some, but no. Then I found out Malachi Moore had it too. So, but seriously, I mean, it's going to be all whole. Everybody's going to get after it. And I saw today where some group in Miami is going to sponsor their whole team and give them $500 a month. Which would probably get you one night out in Miami if you really want to go out. But the real issue for me is, trying to make sure it's moderated. And I know that Alan Thomas over at UGA has worked very heavily with Coach Smart and the staff. And it'll be something that, some people want to buy some insurance down there from where Mims is from. I think it's good. I think it's good that he's got some people that want to sponsor him. So you read about all these things and some very, there's a lot of ingenuity involved, but the reality is the good teams are going to still be good and the bad teams are going to still be bad. I know some people are saying this is going to be a way for some of these other teams to catch up. And my deal is they never have caught up before and they're not going to catch up now.
I agree 100%, Coach, and glad to have you back. It's I noticed a lot of people they're kind of excited for the kids. They want to see these kids be able to, just like anybody that gets famous, you want to be able to make money off of your name. These guys put in a lot of work and it's tough to say, hey, all those 5 a.m. lifts you did, all those 2-a-days you did, you're not allowed to sign an autograph for money. You can't accept this. You can't accept that. And it just, amateurism rules across the, even going back to the Olympics, people just, they love the idea of amateurism, but they didn't like what comes along with that. You see a college kid who qualifies for the PGA Tour or, could win money in a tennis event and then have to give the money back so they can keep their college eligibility, stuff like that. And it's always stuck in people's craw. But at the same time, once it starts feeling like these kids are all about themselves and marketing themselves versus the school, that's always been the thing about college football is the people – there's like, these are the kids at our school. These are the kids in my alma mater. They fight for the Bulldogs. They fight for the Tigers. They fight for the Tide. That has always kind of been the draw versus if you're in a pro, that guy's got a contract coming up. This is a contract year. He's working on that second contract. Will he be on with this team, in the second phase, third phase of his career? There's always been that disconnect. And in other words, the reason people like college football is because it's always more focused on the college. So there is kind of that pushback against I don't think they don't dislike the individual kids doing well, but they dislike the idea. And I'm seeing some pushback there. I think a lot of kids are going to be really disappointed.
You need to take a reality pill. Anybody that wants to worry about that bullshit needs to take a reality pill. I mean, this is America and, these kids deserve what they can get. Kids aren't going to universities to play football now because of the academics and the dorms and all that stuff. They're looking to go to the pros now. Hey, there's a lot of them that academics are important. Don't get me wrong. I don't want anybody quoting me on that, but I just think it really is a situation where we want to compete and go for the national championship and do all the things we got to do. That's what we're going to do. We're going to compete on name, image, and likeness, just like we do on everything else, just like Alabama does. And that's just the way it is. But I hated to interrupt you there, but I think we're in a situation now where, you can't be Mr. Goody Two Shoes and want that euphoric situation of the student athlete. Certainly an athlete's going to have to make his grades to be eligible and all that. That's for sure. And hopefully get a degree. But these kids are on a 3 and out plan. I'm telling you now.
You're right, Coach. I mean, half the kids we talk to, we say they go, well, think about it when they commit. I'm going to play my next 3 or 4 years at school X. They're even saying it the day they commit. And that's what my eventual point is. That idea, this idyllic, I'm playing for the logo on the side of my helmet, not the name on the back of the jersey. That's ship sailed. So basically,
even Radi, when they say they're going to play 3 years somewhere, what that means is I'm going to play 3 years somewhere if it goes the way that I'm hoping it does. And if not, I may play 3 places in 3 years or 3 places in 4 years. There's so many different ways that changes. It's a different game than what you coach, Coach Donnan. I mean, it's a whole different landscape. I'm not saying it's good or bad. It's just different in a lot of ways.
But I do like this, though.
One thing you got to do, though, is the leadership among your team and the leadership provided by your staff, realizing that, hey, everybody, this is the way it is. But at the same time, we're going to have the same structure. We're going to have discipline. You're going to have to, I don't care how much money you're making, you're going to have to come and practice. You're going to have to do this. And, you might not make as much money if your ass is on the bench. So you're going to have to come out here and compete for the job and do what you're supposed to. There's can only be one coach and one set of rules, and that's the way they're going to be. And that's all up in the air. We just don't know how everybody's going to react to that. That kind of new issue there where, you can't blame the kids for wanting to help themselves and make what they can. Because realistically, some of them aren't going to have that chance when they get out of college to play pro ball. So maybe they can get it now. So that's more power to them.
You took my second point there, Coach, was that, a lot of people are like, well, that doesn't feel like they're playing. They're more about themselves than the school. I'm like, look, they're at your school. When I was in school, I worked. It didn't mean I was less into the school I was at, just you got to make a living. And there have been kids where I've said, look, I'll come to your house and do an interview. They're like, look, you don't want to come to this neighborhood. This is a rough part of town. I'm like, I'm used to that. I've been there, but they try to warn me away sometimes. Some of these kids are coming from some rough areas and they've had a rough home life, and they've had, this is a chance for them to, I don't want to say cash in because it sounds crass, but actually, be recognized for something that is intrinsically them and the hard work they've put in. And so few of them are actually going to make it to the NFL. We have this idea that with amateurism, okay, we'll put it off until you go pro. So few of these kids go pro. It's pointless to say, look, the 1-2% of you that are going to make it, you get to cash out. Nobody else does. So I do think the other side, though, is so the people that might say, oh, well, I hate this new system that's coming around. It's ruining the game. It's not going to ruin the game. Everyone is going to be – it's new, and so people are reflexively against it. We also saw the same thing about the idea of playoffs, but more and more people, as they got used to the idea of playoffs, really like it. This expansion to 12, you have a lot of teams who, when their team lost in October or early November, they're done. They're out of it. They write off the season. They start looking at the incoming recruiting class, what crappy bowl game they're going to go to. Now you have a lot more teams who are going to be involved. So I think the change, people, why they may be annoyed with the whole name, image, and likeness, feeling that this is basically a feeder league to the NFL. I think there's going to be a lot more interaction, a lot more interest because of the playoffs. The fans are going to be more involved in college football because there will be more chances for other teams to get into the playoffs. So I think you can have it's almost balances out. So I think both in the long term are good for college football. There's more pushback against one of them because of this pretense of what we used to think of the student athlete.
Pushing back, Roddy. Come on. Have you read somebody's pissed off about these kids?
Yes, a ton of them, Coach. That's what I do. I see people are very mad about this. They're like,
what do they say?
These players being paid. It's a lot.
Hey, they've been for a long time, but now, hey, what happened?
I do think in some cases there actually may be some loyalty built through teams in the way that, like, I didn't play football, but like I know, having gone to UGA, I'm now an employee on campus at the journalism school. throughout that decade of me being a student and then coming back later, and then also through the sports coverage here, there's just a lot of ancillary benefits that I've gotten from the community and knowing people around. And I think as players get that, and then the money that kind of sustains through the process, maybe there's more of that when an Emeritus Mims realizes, my people back home in the 478 are going to take care of me, and I'm going to be fine in Athens. And so if I don't get my way to start immediately, maybe he doesn't like go somewhere else, because there's a little bit of cash flow there that may not be there if he's playing for another team. So maybe this
stick around that
built
fourth
that
year.
way.
Maybe some guys don't go pro immediately because they're like, and we've had some guys say, look, I got to, even if I just make a practice squad, I can't do another year of school. My family needs help right now. So maybe if there's some sort of cash coming in, like the $6,000 those University of Miami players are going to get from that one program or that one business, maybe it's not a ton, but maybe it says, hey, I don't need to transfer because I got something good going on here. Or maybe I don't need to go pro early because I've got some sort of cash flow coming in now.
Hey, Coach, you want an X's and O's question now? Get on the field instead of off the field?
I think y'all hit it good. I just want to capsule there is just the fact that, you got to change as the systems change, and you got to do when you cut back from 45 scholarships to 35, then 20. I mean, these are always things that are evolving. Everybody said when the players started to get the stipends that they were going to be really ruined because they got all that extra money, and now you just look at the overwhelming amount of money that the football is bringing in. This new contract that ESPN signing with CBS. I mean, ESPN signing with the SEC. I mean, come on. It's just billions. A lot of money out there, and the coaches are making a lot of money. It's just a way of life. But let's go to the X and O's here.
J.R. Scar 86 asks, who's going to be Georgia's starting wide receiver opposite Jermaine Burton to start the season? He throws out a couple names, and you can confirm, deny on your opinion. He says Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint, Arik Gilbert, Arian Smith, Justin Robinson.
I think for sure you're going to see a lot of these different guys in there, but I had one that I was getting ready to say, and I forgot number 10. I forgot his name.
Kieran Jackson.
I think he's going to be the starter just because of experience. But, Rosemy got to come back from an injury. Smith's got the speed. There's a lot of different plug-and-place guys that you use different scenarios with. What's going to happen? Can Gilbert play outside? Is he going to move back inside? All those things are going to be answered during two-a-days. Just like one question for me about our personnel is the transfer portal worries me. The transfer portal worries me because we got a lot of good players that are starting now that might be beaten out by guys that might be better than them. I mean, you got a lot of good guys on that second team O-line now. Broderick Jones, Tate Radledge playing guard some, and also Mims. They're going to threaten these guys. I mean, Truss, McClendon, even though he's a freshman All-American, what's going to happen if all of a sudden one of these guys jumps ahead of them? I'm not saying that's going to happen for sure anywhere, but we've got a lot of players that aren't going to get it to playing time that maybe they got before. I don't necessarily say in the O-line, but running back-wise, we got 5 backs. I mean, you just go through it, tight ends, we got 3 or 4. Just hopefully there's playing time for everybody to keep morale up. But that worries me as much as talking about the NIL.
Yeah. Right now, my vote is I think Marcus Rosemy-Jacksaint. Just heard some good things about him, but as Coach says, you got to come back from an injury. I just think each one of those guys gives you a different option because you put Arian Smith up there. He's so fast. I do think a lot of people they overlook Kieran Jackson because he's been banged up a couple times. But you remember when everybody was focusing on George Pickens, who was it that was just torching defenses? And it was Kieran Jackson. This is his senior year. I think Kieran has a monster year. If not, and they have to start worrying about him more, then Jermaine Burton chews him up. I just think that you have do you want a big giant wide receiver out there and you put in an Arik Gilbert, or do you want one of the fastest guys in the nation in Arian Smith out there? I just think that you can keep a defense guessing about who you roll out there. I don't think there'll be that set group of guys that you look and see every week. I think they're going to rotate through just Todd Monken going, do I want to hurt you with size or do I want to hurt you with speed? Do I just want to hurt you with a guy that you're not sure what he's going to do? Maybe he's a tight end. Maybe he's a wide receiver. You just don't know. Oh, I got 2 of them out there that can do the same thing. I got 3 of them out there that can do the same thing in my tight end spots. Which one of them which are blocking and which are not. So
it's a good look at as an offensive play caller, as a personnel guy. Are you going to go 3-by-1? Or are you going to go 2-by-2? Of 12 personnel, 2 tight ends and 2 wide. Your whole key is to get your best of the fields. If that means 2 tight ends compared to 3 wide receivers, then you'll have Fitzpatrick, Bowers, Darnell, and whoever else is there, and you play 2 tights because we're going to have a running game. One thing that I wanted to get across here today, and then we'll go to the next thing, is NFL has gotten away from the pure drop back a little bit. They still run a lot of drop back, but they're because of protection and because of sacks and because all these guys making money off the edge rusher. You're seeing teams use a lot more play action, a lot more RPOs, and move in the pocket to take her off the pass rush, and that will help us with our running game. We should be able to do that extremely well this year. We might not be a pass first team all the time with our running game and with our tight ends, and it helps your protection. I mean, most big come off play action passes. They don't come off a show pass where everybody in the stand, including the little old lady from Pasadena, sees a quarterback drop back. The deception helps you throw the deep ball and works it in there. So, and with JT's arm and everything, I think if we can move the pocket a little bit where he's just not stationary, even though he's his mobility, I think that'll help him too. So that's going to come into play as far as how you utilize your personnel too, where you move the pocket, how you set the pocket, how much screens you use, how much dink and dunk you use. So a lot of that helps your protection too. So I think we'll be very versatile on offense and have a lot of packages.
To that end, with a mobile quarterback, guys in the NFL like Kyler Murray or even a Baker Mayfield, you can do more of the kind of bootleg or like a pocket that really moves far to the outside because the quarterback can be mobile. They can run more. You see stuff with Lamar Jackson that you don't see other quarterbacks able to do. When you have a guy like JT Daniels, that's just not an option because it doesn't run that way. So a lot of plays would get broken if they extend that far. So I think what you're going to see is a bit more of what you saw or attempt to see from Mac Jones last year with Alabama, where the ball gets out of his hands quickly. It's in an accurate spot. He's got a few different options, but most of it is read before the play even begins. Because if the ball's in JT Daniels' hands for a long time, Georgia's got a problem.
Yeah, and I know you and Brent a lot more film than I've ever watched, and you see a lot of things. But Tom Brady, the best things he does is fake 35 gut and roll a little bit to the right and then throw the ball. So JT Daniels, just the fact that he can't going to threaten the edge, he can threaten the fact that they don't out a little bit. So that in itself helps you on their protection. Just the fact that he's going to be able to run the good play action fake to the off the tackle and then set up or the counter boot, anything you want to run like that. So I just think we just can't typecast and say because JT can't run on the edge that we can't run the nakeds and the bootlegs. I think we can. I know we can because those are some of the best things that a team can do when the other team doesn't expect you to.
Radi, and I know he just didn't say that I've watched more film than him. I know he didn't say that.
I was going to call you on that.
In the last couple of years, y'all, I mean, that's all you do, man. I mean,
yeah, well, you've been doing it for a lot longer, Coach. Well, hey, perfect example. When we do the watch along, and folks, if you've not seen one of these, you need to check it out. We do a watch along show where we have a camera on the 3 of us, and Coach is basically, we're watching the Georgia game. You know, we'll be watching Georgia versus Clemson. We'll have a camera on us, and you can have the Georgia Clemson game on your TV, and then have us on a phone, iPad, laptop, whatever, second screen experience. Watch Coach Donnan watching the game, and it's fantastic because he's calling these plays based on the personnel that go out there, based on the formation. He's like, this is going to be a run to the right here. It's a run to the right. They're going to fake here. This is going to be
but I miss a lot of them.
You do not. Don't give me that. They're going to go power here. They go power. He goes.
I would hope.
Watch the inside guy. Inside guy gets the ball.
Just watch it this fall, because we're going to have some really good games, and I think it's just a good way to have a homer situation where we're pulling hard for Georgia, but we're also a little critical when we need to be. But we got a pretty good insight in these players that some of these sportscasters don't have.
Exactly. And we've broken news on that, and we've had a couple great sponsors. We have room for a couple more sponsors. So if you're interested in sponsoring the show, it's a good idea, because we have to take commercials. So we drop your commercials in there. Everyone rolls their eyes when we do them, but they pay attention, because we had a lot of people that checked out Athens Ford and checked out Bud Light Seltzers last year.
How many we have that last game?
They had 29,000 people watching. So,
man, that would have made me nervous. I'm glad.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell you anymore.
It's a fun experience too, because like a lot of people do join us live, a lot from that number you just said, but a lot of that gets from people that went to the game and then they want to watch on Sunday or rewatch later to pair it with their TV recording or whatever, or maybe to turn off the announcers and be able to watch us just because
that's what you do.
A different insight.
Pause your TV for 10 seconds, turn off the announcers, and just listen to Coach break it down as we go along. And I mentioned Athens Ford because they sponsored that, and I want to give them a shout out for being a sponsor of our our podcast, our website, and the live show. If you go out to Athens Ford right now, they have fantastic deals. They have the financing at 1.9% for 60 months for qualified buyers on new Ford Mustangs, Rangers, F-150s, Ford Explorers, what I have, Ford Expeditions, all these vehicles, 60 months, 1.9% financing for qualified buyers. You can't beat it. And I know a lot of places are having a hard time getting inventory in. Athens Ford right now, I see they have over 100 Ford F-150 Super Cabs. That's insane. They have a ton of the Explorers and Expeditions and Escapes. You need to go out there, check them out. They have tons of them. And even if you don't need a new vehicle right now, of course they have tons of pre-owned ones as well. If you need service done, you're having an issue with your AC, you need your oil change, anything like that, go out to Athens Ford, go into that nice, cool, immaculately clean service area with the great Wi-Fi, the snacks and the drinks, and they will take care of you. They're fast, they're efficient, and they're a huge sponsor of not only this show, but our watch along show. So I want to give them a shout out for taking such good care of us, because they do. And when you go over there, let them know that you heard about them at UGASports.com. All right, Dayne, hit up with some more questions there.
Coach, you had mentioned the rushing from the edge in the NFL on defense. So it goes right into Middle Tennessee Dogs question over on the Dog Van. Who leads UGA in sacks this season?
I could say anybody and be right or wrong, but you got to figure Adam Anderson's got the best shot. I mean, they put him in a position to rush the passer from different angles. He can line up at star and rush as a blitz. He can line up as an outside backer. They run him on twists. I would say, between him and Nolan Smith, and then Walker inside, I think shows time after time that he's very adept at getting to the quarterback. We don't know how much the inside guys are going to be able to do it, but I would say one of those three.
I do think it's a good question, in part because Azeez Ojulari was so efficient, especially late in games. He had kind of turned into Georgia's closer in that way. And, if there's a time for Nolan Smith, it seems like it's wide open, because Adam Anderson will be getting some attention.
I'm going to Adam Anderson just because give me the fastest guy on defense coming off the ball.
That's a way to make some money in his case for NFL situations. Coach, here's a throwback for you. This is Harry Thornton over on the Dog Vent. We all know Coach Donnan used Keith Jackson to devastating effect at Oklahoma. Does Coach think that Georgia will be able to use two All-American type tight ends this season to the same effect? Can Georgia get tight ends more involved? The age-old question.
Yeah, you should have asked Radi, because he would have been he goes off on that about as much as anybody I've ever known. But I think it's just a case of certainly with Darnell focusing, on his conditioning and his ability and everything, the way he's really worked. He's a real threat. I mean, you don't see many guys like him. And then certainly Bowers did a great job in the spring speed-wise, and Fitzpatrick has his role. I think the real key for us answering that question is what will we do with Gilbert? He made his mark as an inside receiver last year. He played in the slot and as a move guy, and he weighs 245, 250, and he's starting out at wide receiver here because we definitely need him there. But for him to be a consistent wide receiver and a guy that can do what he needs to, he probably needs to drop a little bit of weight. But we'd be crazy not to use him some inside. Maybe not as a tight end, but as a slot receiver, because he's just such a weapon with his size and his ball skills. So we're going to have a really good situation with those four guys right there, being able to play everywhere. Every one of them can move around, and then you add the fact that you got one of the fastest guys in the country, and it was epitomized by his track speed. And the fact that Arian Smith would be a guy like that too. So we're going to have some deep threats and some really good matchup problems for everybody.
And Radi, I want to hit you up with this follow-up question because this is from Dirty Dog 421 on the Vault. And for those that aren't members of UGAsports.com, the Dog Vent is the biggest, greatest community of UGA fans in existence, going back into really the mid to late 90s. History has kind of happened through the Dog Vent. If you want just the most supportive group of people, I told this story a few weeks ago. I'm buying a new house in Oconee County. I needed to get a deck inspected. Went on the Dog Vent and said, I need a deck inspected today. Is there anyone with contacts that can help me? Boom. Within 2 hours, I had a guy out there checking it out. And that's because of the community at the Dog Vent. And there's just so many people that are connected in so many different ways. So that's the Dog Vent. The Vault is our recruiting expertise. That's Jed May and Blaine Gilmer and Trent Smallwood, Ben Bachman. I mean, it goes on and on and on. Roddy pops over there from time to time and puts in a future cast like he did over the weekend, even though it was 4th of July weekend. So that's the difference in the Vault and the Vent at UGAsports.com. Go check out our stories and sign up to be a part of the community, because that's really where the experience happens. Dirty Dog 421 over at the Vault says there's a lot of talk about the weapons, but never a mention of John Fitzpatrick. It seems like some people don't realize that he's 6'7", runs like a deer, and blocks like an offensive lineman. So, Roddy, any thoughts on what you could see from John Fitzpatrick in this offense?
Remember, John Fitzpatrick came up through Marist, and he was that was a option defense, option offense. He didn't catch a whole lot of passes, but he did win MVP at our rivals camp, catching passes, just lighting everybody up. The guy has great hands. I don't know that he runs like a deer. He probably does. They had a combine testing. We reported that the other day, but we didn't see
John Deere tractor. Yeah.
It runs like a John Deere tractor. The reason I say that, I'm not sure, because we saw some times, but this is a kid who, when I went to practice, maybe even 2 years ago, or last year, the first time I saw him again, it took me a minute to recognize him. I had to look down at I'm like, 86, 84? Who is that? Because that kid bulked up. He put on some massive muscles. He put on his upper body just completely filled out. He has huge arms now. His arms are about as big as my head, which is really huge. And this guy is I see him as being an inline guy. You can always send him out for a pass if need be. There's some other people I think would be better at catching passes, but to me, he has turned himself into a prototypical tight end. He is a manhandler. He is there for the blocks. As Coach was talking about, those protections that you need. And maybe you keep him in, then roll him right out, a little curl, and he burns you. So we don't hear about him a whole lot, because just like we didn't hear a lot about a lot of Georgia's tight ends in the past, they were doing their jobs. And I would be the one like, hey, why aren't we throwing to them? But it's because they're keeping, the quarterbacks upright, and they're giving the defensive coordinators, hell, because you got to have somebody watching over them. So Coach can give you more on that, but go ahead.
Here's the good thing. If you look at the kid from Miami that transferred here and got drafted last year in the 3rd round, only caught less than 10 passes here, a couple touchdowns. But the fact that these pro guys know that they've been coached in a system that Todd Monken has, that knows how to identify pass protection, that knows how to move and block guys on the run as a JoJo guy, a guy that goes in motion. And we saw time after time where he would go from one side to the other and kick out the backside, and we would see the good cutback by our back. So the fact that they're in this system, there's no question to me that John Fitzpatrick's going to play pro football. I mean, he's too big, he's too strong, he's too fast, he's got good hands, and he's going to get, there's not a lot of guys walking down Lumpkin that are 6'7", 240, like maybe even bigger than that can run and jump like he can. So he's got a great future, and I'm glad he's here. He's had a good attitude ever since. I remember the first time I ever saw him, he and his mother were over at spring practice before he enrolled in the fall and for summer camp. He wasn't an early enrollee, and he was watching practice out there, and he was very intent. He was watching every little move. He was going around watching the tight ends, everything they were doing, all their drills. And I asked one of the managers or trainers who he was, and they said it's a kid from Marist signed. And that initial impression that I had was the fact this guy has got the right kind of attitude, knowing that he's over here, not just trying to get in the glamorous, hey, I'm a signee, I'm coming in here, hey. He was over there trying to learn what was going on, and he was very, very in tune to what. And that my first impression on him is the same as it is now. This is a guy that we're glad to have in the program.
Yeah, and a guy like that, Dayne, if you're in that 12 personnel, and you've got maybe a Reed Gilbert's playing tight end, maybe Darnell is, maybe Brock Bowers is. Everyone thinks, well, that's one's staying in and one's going out. You don't always know that. And if you want to bet your defensive protection on that, go with your defensive coverage on that, go right ahead. But that kid he's an absolute monster and a joy to talk to when we get to talk to him. He's a great kid.
I do think that, and this is probably more projecting into the future as recruits see guys like Kyle Pitts play tight end in a way that you're kind of a receiver tight end hybrid where you don't have to block quite as much. There's going to be an opportunity, and there is an opportunity now for guys like John Fitzpatrick that can do so many things on offense, because that means you don't have to leave the field all the time just because a different personnel group is going in, because you can block interior. You can do it near the red zone. You can do it with the end zone right behind you. You can go out for a pass. You can chip. You can do all these different things. And I think Charlie Warner showed how valuable that is, because Georgia would not have had some of the offensive success that it had in recent years if it weren't for a guy like Charlie Warner that's willing to, get in there in the pile just like he's an offensive lineman, but also peel out for a pass. That's a really hard thing to do for a lot of players, to be able to do both of those things well. And, I think John Fitzpatrick probably has a little bit of growth that he has to, have in his receiving game, but I think the blocking is unquestioned. And if George is going to go compete for a national championship, he's a massive part of that blocking package.
And the one thing about Kyle Pitts, he can't block like this guy can. I mean, Kyle Pitts was instead of lining up at wide receiver, which he looks like a wide receiver, he's big enough where he could block just good enough, but he was working on the inside guys so much. That was smart by Mullen. And, I think it's just people have a tendency to typecast tight ends as a guy that lines up outside the tackle. In today's college football and pro football, a guy that can line up there but also split out. The one thing you can do when you have two tight ends that can run, catch, and block is you don't necessarily have to line them up outside the tackle by 1 yard. You can split them out. You can – one thing we used to call deuce and ace and things like that, but we used to call dual. And when we went dual, that meant we had two tight ends, two wide receivers, and the tight ends were in a slot. And we would just run a sprint out based on the coverage. But if they really had trouble covering us, we would call Dixie, and then we would switch the two. The tight ends would go outside, and the two wide receivers would come inside. And now you had guys like Jermaine Wiggins out on the outside edge, or Jermaine Johnson, Javaris Johnson, guys like that, Larry Brown. You could switch dual and Dixie and go and really hurt people. And that's what I think we'll see some of that. Excuse me for the coaching. I just like to say once in a while so I remember things. But I really think dual and Dixie is a really good way to screw around with people a little bit. And, all of a sudden you line up tight and then you shift out, or you line up wide and then you shift in, just to make those defensive coaches sweat a little bit.
You made me smile thinking of Larry Brown. That was fun watching him play.
I mean, it's all about creating mismatches.
Larry Brown came in spring practice and the first year, and he said, "Coach, can I play basketball?" I said, "What are you talking about?" He said, "I got a chance to help Toby Smith in the basketball team." I said, "Well, if you can play, hey, if you can play in the game some, it's okay with me because I like Coach Smith and all that." Well, he went out there and had a heck of a game in the playoffs and everything. I thought he was just trying to get out of weight training and everything. He probably was, but those guys can help your team. That was good, but Larry Brown was a good tight end for us.
Absolutely. Speaking of good things, when you get a chance, folks, please stop by any of the URPI locations. There's 70 plus of them. There's tons of them all over the place. When you get a chance, swing by the URPI location, grab a peach and prosciutto.
You said it right. Attaboy.
Hey, I get it right. Get the peach and prosciutto salad. The pizza and salad. They have a summer peach salad that looks fantastic. It's got the peaches on it. These are some of the best peaches you get. And I will say I was very disappointed the other day. I went to my favorite grocery store, Publix. They could sponsor us too. Went to Publix I wasn't there to get a sandwich. I was actually there to get some fruit. And I got some peaches and they just weren't sweet. So I got to reach out to Drew and Natalie French and find out where the hell they're getting their peaches from. I know they're local because he's mentioned it before, but I got to find out where they're getting their peaches for their peach and prosciutto pizza, because you can talk about pineapple on a pizza and you can have that debate and it's a tired debate. It's like, is a hot dog a sandwich? I mean, come on, you're just trying to get clicks at that point. I don't care about the pizza or the pineapple on a pizza debate because you're just rehashing this old argument. But if you want a true original question, is the peach and prosciutto pizza from URPI good? And it's
phenomenal.
When you try it, you're gonna be like, I'm nervous about this. I don't trust this. And then you eat it and you're like, holy hell, this is fantastic. So
I think the key is the balsamic.
The balsamic drizzle pulls it. The acid, the sweetness, the sugar, the spice, the heat, the combination of them, it is phenomenal. And these are the interplay of taste makes it. So my mouth is watering now as we're talking about this. So when you get a chance.
Did you see the side dish that they have with the ingredients though? Have you seen this?
No, what is that?
Dude. All right. So, they have the cheese sticks that they normally have as like an appetite. They did this with like the Mike's Hot Honey.
I tried that. Mike's Honey Drizzle. Yes.
Yes. So with the peach and prosciutto, they have the same thing. I would probably consider it more of a dessert option, but it's peaches and cream. So what they do is they do the cheese sticks with some of the peaches and the balsamic, and then they give you the scoop of gelato that you desire. Most people tend up going vanilla, but the person at the cashier station when I went said, if you try it with the butter pecan, you're really going to like that. So I don't know, man. I had it once. I need to go get that again because it was delightful.
No, I'm going with the vanilla on that one. That's my thing. But again, tons of the locations of URPI, try them out. And I also want to mention, speaking of food, got me thinking, our friends over at Academia Brewing Company, they make great beer and they make great food. When you get a chance, you need to swing by there. On the west side of Athens, ton of great specials that they had for the 4th of July. They had a car show out there. They had a motorcycle show out there recently that was pretty badass. They've got some fantastic beers out there like the Robots 3 Human Zero. It's a 7% ABV Imperial Kettle Sour with mango and banana. So if you're looking for a good beer, you want a sour, but good summer beer, try the Robots 3 Humans 0. They're trying to find that other beer they had that was so really good. Yeah. Parallax Project Volume 2. There's a new brew out there where they have hop combinations and flake grains. So there's a whole series that they do. So that's why you got to go out there and check them out periodically because they keep going through different beers, So when you get a chance, check them out. Right now, they had the red, white, and blue Taste of Freedom IPAs made with blueberries from the local Haddon Estate. So the Haddon Farms out there has a huge thing of blueberries that you can actually go out and pick. The folks at Academia have brought those blueberries in and put them into one of their beers. So you can try that out, of course, with their fantastic food. So when you get a chance, check out Academia Brewing Company, get a beer, get some restaurant food. They have a chef out there making good stuff. And if you're not in Athens and you're not near a Europi, if you're not near an Academia Brewing Company, go buy one of the Europis and get the peach and prosciutto pizza or salad or breadsticks. So try those. I hit us up with some more questions.
Well, guys, it's July, which means that month after next, we have Georgia football for the entire month. The schedule is nearing, and that matchup with Clemson is on the minds of a lot of our fans over on the vault at UGAsports.com. Bell ringer. This is a bit of a lengthy question, so I'll kind of condense it a bit. Question is about the Clemson game. Does Georgia's size and physical advantage over Clemson, is that an X factor to put Georgia over the top in the game? Despite the need to continue to try to open things up on offense, Bellringer has a sneaky feeling that Kirby Smart doesn't think that Clemson can handle it if Georgia punches them in the mouth for 60 minutes.
Well, one thing for sure, Clemson's D-line worries me. I mean, they got guys up there on the D front that are going to be somebody that we got to contest. I mean, among the best players in the country, and Brian Breezy and guys like that. So, whether we have a physical advantage, who knows? They certainly got some great wide receivers that I would consider physical advantage on their speed and quickness. And we've got some question marks on our secondary as far as getting guys to come in there and work out. But hopefully during the month of August, we'll have a chance to see what our team's all about, what Clemson's all about. And a lot of things can happen between now and then, academic casualties, transfers, injuries. But it's certainly a marquee game, among the best games in the country all year, but probably the best game the first day. And we'll just have to look at a lot of different areas. But, everybody has the feeling, and you just mentioned it, wanting to open up and everything. We open up. I mean, there's just when you got backs like we do, and when you get injuries like we had to Pickens and certain wide receivers, you have to curtail a little bit and try to win the game with who you got. But I think our kicking game, people are really not looking at that as hard as they need to. But if you had to rate kicking games in the country, I would say without question we're in the top three when you look at all three phases, with Pod and Jake and our kick return game and coverage wise. So that gives us an edge on any team we play. So you got to win one out of the three phases. That's for sure. One will win against most teams. The other two, offense and defense, we'll just have to see. But two critical areas here. How good will each quarterback play in their first really big game of the season, with their quarterback who had a chance to play 2 games last year. Ours played 4, but he had a freshman year at USC. I think that's going to be key, not so much what they do, but what they don't do, as far as making mistakes, running the club and all that. So it's going to be a heck of a game. And I like our chances, though. I really do. I like the fact that any way you look at it, we play a tougher schedule week in and week out than Clemson does. But you got to look at their last 3 or 4 years. They've been right there among the elite teams in the country every year. So that's not their fault who they play. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can have the success Ohio State did. I mean, 6 touchdown passes really has to make Venables all summer. I mean, he's got to be looking hard at his defense when he got torched like that. So let's see what happens.
Radi, you pronounce prosciutto correctly. Can you pronounce Clemson's quarterback's name?
Ungalele?
I think it's Uwe Ungalele.
Yeah.
But that was pretty darn good. I was trying to catch
Clemson quarterback. Well, we'll go with that. The names that scare me most are Miles Murphy and Brian Breezy. Those are and yeah, I get the question, can Georgia line it up and just, out muscle a ACC team? And Georgia's been able to do that. And especially with the way it's recruited, if you look at that offensive line Georgia has with those monsters across the front, the fact that you have 3 5-stars on your second team right now, maybe more, big, giant tight ends, big wide receivers, huge, Jordan Davis in the middle in your defense, Devontae Wyatt, Trayvon Walker, Adam Anderson, Nolan Smith, big guys there. Coach points out the touchdowns Clemson gave up, and one of their best cornerbacks is now going to probably be the starting cornerback at Georgia. You could see where Georgia could just say, look, we're going to play smash mouth football. We have 3 5-star running backs and 2 other guys who are pretty damn good. So they're going to, we're just going to run it down your throat. I just don't see it happening because this isn't your standard ACC team. This is Clemson. They've beaten Alabama. They've beaten these other teams. They're pretty stout the way they've recruited. I think where Georgia has questions is where Clemson has questions, or where Clemson has strength, Georgia has a question. You can look at that offensive line. Georgia has a ton of great offensive linemen, but they're going up against one of the best defensive fronts they're going to see all year. And it's going to be their first game. One of the questions that popped up earlier was, will the starting 5 on the first day of practice be the starting 5 that face Clemson in the opener? No way of knowing. Usually that doesn't happen. Sometimes it does. I mean, it's just, there are a lot of moving parts when it comes to that offensive line. You just don't know. Clemson secondary is questionable, but then Georgia's, the first question we talked about was who plays opposite Jermaine Burton. So there are a lot of options, and Clemson has to feel that way too. I just think it's too early to know, or too early to have a feeling on, can Georgia just line it up and smash this Clemson team in the mouth? And it's going to be a loud Clemson crowd. I mean, I know a lot of Georgia fans are traveling up there, but it's going to be a zoo. And I just think there's way too many variables right now to assume that Georgia can just mash them.
Let me ask you this question to both of you. Who did we line up and mash last year?
Yeah.
I mean, let's take a reality pill here now. All the first 4 or 5 games, the big question mark for our team was our offensive line.
Yeah.
We couldn't do anything against Arkansas. We couldn't, so I
didn't do it at Kentucky.
I think that's got to be a proven for us that we with these younger guys, are they going to surface and be the guys, or are we going to go with we certainly didn't line up and mash Cincinnati. So that's not our style right now. Hopefully we can get to that point because we got all these big maulers that you talked about, but let's be really nothing against the question, but I think it'd be good if we can, and we got the potential to with those kind of guys. But and the question mark for me is that the kind of style that we want to play coming from the top down now? What's our style now? Are we more pass first, look to run when it's there on RPOs, or a lot of that's going to be answered. But the one thing about fall camp that I always said, spring practice now, you only have so many days that you can hit. You can't tackle much, three full scrimmages. Now you got 29 practice opportunities where you had like 9 or 10 in the spring. So there's going to be a lot of moving around, moving parts, and seeing who can do it. And like I said, injuries are a factor, conditioning, everything. So it's a tough opener, but I like to play a good team the first game. I mean, that makes you find out what you got and that can get your kids' attention, and that's what they're looking at right now.
The style thing is a good point, I think, because recent history says, most fans want to open it up, pass the ball over the field. Great. I do think that teams need the ability to do that, if for nothing else, when your team is trailing by a couple of touchdowns, that the game isn't over if you have less than a quarter to go. So you need to have an explosive offense in that way. But look at the LSU 2 seasons ago or Alabama last year. Once you get a lead, you need to have the ability to move the sticks and burn that clock in a way that you can put the hammer down. And Najee Harris was the best player in college football at that, because he could do it receiving or he could do it running. And so, yes, Georgia needs the ability to be able to do that along with the explosive passing game.
Yeah, and number one, we got to stop the pass. I mean, you talk about offense, anything you want to, but the big games, the last 2 years, the passing game has been our demise. I mean, the fact that we hadn't been able to stop LSU or first half Alabama, first quarter Florida. But, the passing game, playing the ball in the air, rushing the passer, causing turnovers, that's a big part of our plan now. I know Kirby's working hard on it. We've got to be able to defend the pass better.
I want to sneak in a couple of recruiting questions as we approach the end of the show. But Roddy, do you want to mention our friend Ronnie Brown first?
Yeah, I'll mention our friend Ronnie Brown. Ronnie Brown is from DR Construction and Maintenance down in the Long County area, the Bryan County area. That's a been a good guy to us for years and years and years, based out of Liberty County. So that's if you're in the Liberty County, Long County, Bryan County areas, reach out to Ronnie Brown at DR Construction Maintenance. If you need your deck redone, you need work done in your house, if they can find the lumber, and I'm sure he's got the contacts, then they will be happy to come out and do that sort of stuff for you. Ronnie Brown's been a huge supporter of our site for many, many years, and we appreciate his patronage and support.
This question over at the Vault from Bulldog Ben, I'm assuming this is in the wake of Kojo Antwi's commitment to Ohio State. Should Georgia be worried about wide receivers in the 2022 class?
I don't think so. I mean, yeah, you lose out on Kojo, but I don't think anybody was really expecting to get him for quite some time. But, I mean, you still have Andre Green Jr. you can look at, Omari Kelly. We were supposed to have an update with him coming here very soon. So they just Jaden, hang on, let me look this kid up. Jaden Gibson was just offered yesterday. He went out to the opening, had a big game. This kid from Florida, 4-star wide receiver, had a big day at the opening, and consequently Georgia was talking to him. James Ellis reached out to him. Then he had a conversation with Cortez Hankton, got the offer, and says, look, Georgia's immediately in my top group. I will be up there to visit them in late July. The problem with recruiting is certain names early on, and then when you don't get those guys, you can get frustrated that that wasn't, you didn't get the first guy you targeted. But we try to tell people, especially after last year with the whole COVID thing, there's a lot of names that are going to pop up that you just didn't see. A lot of guys that didn't play a whole lot last year, guys you just didn't know. 3,000 Division I student athletes that you can look at. There's going to be some that may come up later. Some of Georgia's best players have come later in the process just because you didn't get them. I mean, you still got Luther Burden, the Oklahoma commit. He's kind of looking around. And there's still guys that, the Shaz Prestons of the world that they could still continue to recruit. So I wouldn't worry about it at this point, just because to me, it's way too early to panic.
Agreed. We did report over at UGAsports.com that Arch Manning made a visit to campus in Athens in the last couple of weeks. UGA alum 95 asked over on Twitter. He says, I keep hearing that UGA has a legit chance of landing Arch Manning, maybe in his top 3 at this point. What do you guys think?
Well, hopefully he's looking at the potential here. I think I wouldn't be surprised if we're not in his top group. I mean, you look at the schools he visited. They're among the best in the country, and he did go to SMU, which has, I don't know what the tie was there, but certainly he's a 2023 quarterback that certainly got the lineage and he's got the ability. I've watched the tape on him. He's going to be a special player, and we got a lot to offer him. We got a pro-style coach here that develops quarterbacks. We got good support system here as far as the offensive and offensive line, tremendous facilities, great degree. And, I just think, why not Georgia? I mean, for me, if I'm a quarterback, I'm looking hard at Georgia.
I mean, you landed Eason, you landed Fromm, you landed Fields, you landed Vandegrift, you landed Gunner. It's not like the idea of a 5-star top quarterback coming to UGA is as rare as some people might make it out to be. This is a kid who does not care from people who've spoken to him. He doesn't care who's on your roster now. And you want that in a quarterback. You don't want Vandegrift, Gunner, or Manning to be worried about who's there ahead of them, because if they're going to be the guy, if they're going to make be the one that hits in the NFL, they know that they're going to have to beat out the players on the team they go to, because you're going to have to beat out a lot more people when you try to make it to the NFL. So where's Georgia's chances? Until we actually hear him say that, Georgia's in my top group, it's all speculation. And, we've spoken to people close to him, and the Georgia visit went very well. But I think that the whole Manning organization is going to take a very, very methodical approach to this. So I don't think it'll be an emotional response. You can get that buzz on that visit high, that visit buzz. That'll last for a little while, but this is going to be a very calculated decision on what works out best for him. And I don't think you have to worry about the roster. concerns about who you have on the roster beforehand, because this is a kid who is going to be lights out. And I'm with Coach. I'm like, why not Georgia? You've got a ton of them in the past. It's in the South. You've got the connection with Todd Monken. The Manning's going to look at the coach. Who's going to develop him? Art's going to look and say, who's going to help me get better? And Todd Monken's proven that he can be that guy. So why not Georgia with Arch Manning?
I have been laughing at some of the connections, though, that fans and in some cases reporters are bringing up and be like, well, remember that this coach played against Peyton Manning, or this coach was a GA when Eli Manning was. Look, the Manning family has so many football connections over the course of
graduate assistant hired the same
point.
yard man as the Manning's third secretary.
What I would say is, who are the coaches that have had a established relationship with Arch Manning, not the others? And right. Georgia has a bit of an advantage there with Matt Luke, because when he was at Ole Miss, those conversations and that relationship not only were beginning just because of the Manning's family is tied to Ole Miss at that time, but just the nature of being the head coach at Ole Miss with Manning's around. That's going to be something that is actually helpful for Georgia, because that's a relationship with Arch, not one with Eli or Cooper or Peyton.
Amen.
One thing you got to remember too, Cooper is very astute, good businessman, very quick on his feet, and he's going to look at the NIL hard too. This kid is a walking endorsement. I mean, with all the people that one of the first things he's going to do is open up a Papa John's and then have a distributed shit. No, he won't do. But or he's going to be on the Nationwide there, and we can tell him he can be with Luke Bryan here. He can come over here and get with Luke Bryan on Nationwide, because the other guy does it for Nationwide. We'll set up our own deal here. But I'm just telling you, this kid has got the it factor. He's got everything you want. And he's really going to be a generational type quarterback, I think.
Hey, don't forget, Georgia fans, you have to follow this kid on Twitter. Georgia does have an in, as you point out, with Arch Manning, not his dad, not his uncles, not his grandpa. Pierce Spurlin, Georgia's committed tight end for 2023. Pierce, out of Florida, came up to Georgia for the Rivals Challenge. Great kid. Ran his tail off at the underclassmen combine, underclassmen challenge, worked his rear end off, made amazing catches, was in the running. I think came in second. And when it came to our MVP voting against a bunch of really good wide receivers, and he's a tight end, he caught everything. The kid is fantastic. And he and Arch talk every day. So there's one guy who's really recruiting Arch Manning to UGA, and that's Pierce Spurlin. And they are very, very tight.
Good.
I'll finish on this one final question, and it's almost just a bit of a soapbox that I'm going to get on. And then, Roddy, you can answer if you want. I'm not going to speak for you. Riser over on the Vault asked, which player is UGAsports going to endorse for their NIL? There is a lot of journalism ethics being tested by NIL right here. And I'm going to tell you, I cannot work at the place that I also work at, which is the journalism school on campus at UGA, and be taught the ethics and do the things the way that I know how to do them in journalism, and do some of the things that other reporters and other outlets are going to do for NIL. So all I'm going to say is there is no story that I will work on personally that will involve an athlete receiving a payment from me or the company that I work for. I can't speak for anyone else on our staff in that way, but I just won't do that. That's against the principles that I stand for. But I will say that our site, our community, everything that we represent at UGAsports is a massive asset to any player that wants to get their name and their brand out there. So if that platform is enticing to a player on the team and this gets out to them, my Twitter inbox is open as well. We've been seeing that a lot, right? My DMs are open. Well, you know what? My DMs are open for stories too. So, yeah, Roddy, I don't know if you want to touch on that or if you want to let it slide. No, that's just speaking for me.
No, I mean, we could have JT Daniels or, Jordan Davis or whoever say, hey, come read the dog vent, it's come be a member of this. It would be nice. I guess it'd be nice, but I don't know that it would move the needle for us. I mean, we are a business, but our business is news. So first and foremost, we're reporters, we're analysts. We have guys that write opinions. We have guys that write columns. We have guys that break down film. We're reporters first. We hope to do this enough and hope people like it enough that they pay us to subscribe so that we can pay our bills, but we got into it to report. If we ran it like a business, maybe we should, then having endorsements, we look at that as is the cost worth it? Is the return on investment of paying someone to endorse it going to get us more subscribers? That's just a bridge I'm not ready to cross right now. So, I mean, to me, it's an interesting question. Who would, if we were going to do it, have an endorsement, who would it be? That's a fun thing. Who do you think would be the most effective pitch man for UGAsports.com? And I love it, but that's just not something we're going to do. We're not going to pay recruits for updates and stories like that. That to me is ethically just untenable. We do have the largest message board, the largest community of diehard fans with, we have the most fanatical people. We have the folks that have the most disposable income. We're that for all our advertisers. And we always tell them, look, you've got people who are loyal, people who have money, and people who are diehard Georgia fans. So if you want to reach them, we have that demographic for you. And so if these kids want to get their name and brand out there, we'll help them, it's like, hey, it's, we'll talk about your brand. Sure. But you're going to answer football questions. So that's basically how it works. Because in other words, we'll be more than happy to let people know what you're doing, but we're not going to be a part of it.
And I do want to wrap with one final note. You mentioned columns. I wrote a column about Mark Richt over the weekend with the diagnosis that he announced of Parkinson's disease on Twitter, and how it, in particular, people of my generation that kind of grew up with Mark Richt as the head coach for a lot of it, it just hit hard. And I know that we're sending our well wishes to Coach Richt and his family. That's just horrible news to hear, and sending a lot of love to the Richt family. They're back in town. It's not just Mark and Catherine in town. John's here as well with his family. I believe their family is growing too. So there's a lot of support for them, and I hope that they feel that from our publication, but also our fans and listeners.
Amen. I think, man, that hour went by fast. Coach, it's great to have you back. I'll give a big shout out to our sponsors, Athens Ford, Academia Brewing Company, Europi, and DR Construction and Maintenance. Be sure to tune in next Tuesday when we're going to come back from Vegas. So I haven't told everybody this, but this past year, because we didn't do our normal Christmas holiday event in which I give out bonuses, we basically, because of COVID, we couldn't do that. So I'm taking the guys, as many of them as we can get off work tomorrow, out to Vegas for a couple of days. We're going to go out there, have a good time, maybe lay down a bet or two, and then come back and be ready to cover the weekend stuff. But also we didn't have to fly anywhere for the Rivals Challenge. Normally, we have to go to Baltimore or Indianapolis. So without those costs and without the party, we basically had some money in reserves for travel and bonuses that we rolled over into a trip to Vegas. So we're going to go out there. So if you want some bets laid down, let us know early. And we're going to take off. So if you see any funny tweets, or I'm going to tell everybody to turn off their social media for a couple of days. So if you don't see us online as much, that's it. But if you do see a funny tweet, then you'll know why, what's going on. So, but anyway, we'll be back from Vegas next week to see you at noon on Tuesday. Probably be back at Classic City Eats. They were closed this week before the 4th of July. They take some time off just like we did in June. So we'll be back hopefully at Classic City Eats next Tuesday at noon, and we will see you then. Take care.